So first of all, it affirmed us big time. We actually won an award for that merger.
Wow.
In South Africa. And it was like deal of the year, but it won, I think, number 3 deal of the year in terms of East African deals. It was a painful journey to go through because we were falsely accused. We then ended up getting a really good deal, and that was the merger of NIC Bank and Commercial Bank of Africa, CBA.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were hired as the independent financial advisors.
That was huge.
For that merger, yeah.
Wow, okay.
So that was a fantastic transaction.
Those were the 2 tier A banks.
So
imagine.
So NIC Bank was tier 2 at that time. I think so was CBA,
Okay.
but you know, top tier 2.
Yeah.
And when they merged, then they became a tier 1 bank.
So again, what goes in that? Now that's different from IPOs. What goes into a merger?
Hey.
And please note, I know there's 2 families. We're not talking about some small.
I won't talk about the detail of that particular transaction, but
that's a huge deal.
It's a huge deal. It was a huge deal that I think began probably 5 years before we actually signed the engagement contract.
What?
It takes time to do these transactions.
5 years?
I mean, what are we talking about? Do you know by the time you're merging with another entity, you've had to have conversations and discussions, and then you're like, no, I'm not ready, and then you come back. So there's a lot that goes on in the background. If I'm a company looking to acquire another one or merge with another one, there's so many things to take into consideration. First of all, what is our strategy? Are we in alignment with those guys? Well, you know, after we merge, what's going to happen? What does that look like? Where are they at? What synergies will come out from this thing? Can we sort of quantify those synergies? What sort of costs are we willing to continue to? I mean, there's a lot to take into consideration.
Are you willing to share why the 2 wanted to merge?
I think they had both.
Market share.
Yeah, and I think they both had very interesting expertise as the different banks. So NIC on its own was very good at asset finance. They were the experts in asset finance. So if you're a business, or maybe you're in the leasing business, for example, and you lease equipment, and you wanted to get a loan to buy equipment to lease, the only bank that understood that well and had a structured product was NIC Bank. I mean, they stood out in the industry for that. And it was a homegrown business that had done really well and which was very, very well run. CBA, on the other hand, also a very well-run business, had something very interesting with Safaricom. You know, and they had grown so fast in the process of doing this M-Shwari, MPESA story, and they were looking to grow, and both banks were looking to grow. And I think the chemistry also within the individuals in both banks helped. And so it's like, you know, together we can do more. And I guess, you know, I'm piecing the detail myself. I don't know the bedroom stories there. So, you know, it just made sense. Yeah? For them to.
I mean, that on your portfolio, Rina, it's huge.
Yeah.
So what role did you play?
Again, I said we were the independent financial advisors. So we had to do evaluation of both banks to then determine and present to the board and the shareholders whether or not the ratio of the merger that they were agreeing on was fair or not. Yeah, so that really was the work, and also help with the process and the thinking through the merging. It was just, you know, we'd sit in meetings with the lawyers, with the accountants to see. I mean, it's a thing, culturally, systems-wise, IT-wise, like there's a lot. And it took a lot for these guys to merge. But anyway, that was our role.
Let me ask, because you've brought up the whole conversation of sitting in boards. You're young, you're a woman. I'm not asking how do you prove yourself. You don't have to sometimes prove yourself to people, but also sometimes you do. What happens when you enter a room and there's somebody there who's 60-year-old male, what do you know, young lady? and yet you're representing this whole thing, and the judgment is strictly because you're a woman. I'm not going to act like that doesn't happen. It still happens up until today. Thank God corporate Kenya has been, women have taken over. And if you'd like to sit on the CTA seat, give me a holler. But I'm serious. The truth be told, even as FOAB, the kind of women we represented who are authorities within their field were so many, and they're constantly growing. Boy child, I don't know what was going on, that and is still going on. But when you enter a room like that, because you're one of the first to begin doing this whole shift or continue or taking the baton to continue this journey, what's the difficulty like, and how do you then prove yourself? How is it like, no, I want to talk to your dad?
Oh yeah, all the time. And I'd be like, it's okay.
I'll call him for you?
Yeah. And my dad would be like, Rina needs to be in the room, or she'll take over from here, or she's the expert, talk to her. So for some reason, that never affected me. I mean, I expected it to happen. And I think it's because I look young.
Yes.
And so I've always gotten that. It's
avocados, great. Eat them avocados.
And I think I've always had it. Like, what do you know? You're so young. So this woman thing has never been a thing for me.
Okay.
Because I've always received that. It's only actually very recently when I went into a space. I had a client, or still have a client, from Ethiopia. And every space that I went into, it's a very male-dominated society when it comes to financial services. And I'd go into rooms and I can just feel it. It's for who has walked in and why. And the men that I had on my team were the ones who were given the space. And I'd feel the room shut down every time I speak.
What?
I'm telling you. But because we've continued to work together and they've come to actually understand, I'm the one who knows the story. And actually, I know my stuff. And the respect has grown over time. And I've come to accept that that's how it is. And it's okay. I kind of have to work a little harder. I have to also give guys time. And eventually they'll understand that, imagine I understand and I know something. That the guy I've come with, he has no idea. He's a prop. And so where I need to use props, I'll use them.
Wow.
So if I need to get into a room, but I have to have a man with me, why not?
Because it's clear, some rooms, they won't even open the door if it's just you.
No. So I'd go with my dad sometimes. And there's some meetings and there's some people I cannot meet without my father there. And my dad will just come, say hi, and then keep quiet, and I continue. Of course, in some instances.
Yes.
I mean, my dad is brilliant and he knows his stuff.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
But he knows this is Rina who's going to do this.
Exactly.
Thing.
I'm going to do the work anyway. So, and I don't mean just him, even other men in my business, in the business that I work in. And not just in the business that I do. It's just, and even other women also feel like there's some things men are the ones who know. I
was going to actually ask you that. I can get it from a man to woman perspective because I'm a dude. I don't do it, but I'm just guessing. I get it, and I don't think it's right. I just understand it because I'm a guy.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is when the peers in the room are women like you, also going through the same. I don't know, is it sexism, whatever it may be?
Yeah, so I don't think that's what it is. I think it's really, who are you and why are you here? It's anybody walking into the room has to prove themselves.
Yeah, but Rina, there's also, you're a woman who's walked into the room. Why are you? I understand who are you and have to prove yourself. That happens to both young guys, strangers, I've not heard of you. But there's that one of, I know the head of I know the director was coming for this meeting, but why is the director? You get, let's not act like it ain't there.
Yeah, can I speak to the boss?
Exactly. I'm like, oh, I am the boss. So, but my question is, does it also happen between women and women when you enter?
No, it's different.
It is, huh?
Yeah, it's different. I think women they're kinder. I think they give you time of day, they're more patient. Okay. And they're more trusting.
Oh, and they've also had to fight in their own world for their position.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
What about... and we're coming back to this merger, but what about from an international perspective? Because you don't just work with locals.
No, so depending on the culture. So for example, the work that I did, I don't know if I've mentioned it, but so 2020 was a very interesting year. Despite the fact that it was COVID, it was one of our busiest years. And earlier on in the year, we got an engagement to do a cross-listing from South Africa on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. They wanted to cross-list in East Africa, but they chose Rwanda. So we happened to have a business in Rwanda. And so we got...
When they say cross-listing, just...
So their shares are listed on the stock exchange in Johannesburg, and they wanted to list the same company in a different stock exchange in a different country.
Okay.
So they chose to list their shares so that
Rwanda.
they can be traded in Rwanda. Yeah. So in that particular transaction, the clients were predominantly, it was a male-dominated company. And I didn't experience that, who are you, you're a woman, can I talk to your boss sort of thing.
Yep.
I didn't. But I wondered whether, is it because I've been, I'm on social media, people just Google my name and they can find me. Yes, I don't know. I don't know whether it's because I had earned some stripes by then. However, come across to this other end, to Ethiopia, it's a whole other story.
And the one for Johannesburg, are there whites in the room?
No. Well, yes, there was.
There was,
There was one of the advisors that was, yes.
Okay. So back to this merger, and then now we can go back to 2020. What do you feel like that did for you?
The merger?
Yeah.
So first of all, it affirmed us big time. We actually won an award for that merger.
Wow.
In South Africa. And it was like deal of the year, but it won, I think, number 3 deal of the year in terms of East African deals. I cannot explain to you how affirming that was for the business, because we had come from raising capital for another business. That business, the management did what they did, and it tainted our image in some ways, yet we had nothing to do with it. And then the next transaction we get is this really other, it wasn't not the next, we did other things, but this one was a big one that was, public and big, that then was so affirming that I can't even explain how from then on, we've done so many transactions that I can confidently say that Faida Investment Bank has become the top corporate finance company in Kenya, serving Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. Well, let me see, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Ethiopia.
Wow.
Yes. Corporate finance deals that are capital market related. So it's been amazing. So it's also gotten me in a space where I'm so busy, I'm not able to do content the way that I was before.
Is that your excuse for not doing content?
Yeah, it's my excuse for not doing content because I'm just busy.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm busy. I'm in a completely different space.
Yeah.
And it's been great.
When the new government came in and the president started talking about, what do you call this? Hold on, the new government came in the other day. So I want to first talk about COVID.
Okay.
During COVID, something amazing happened. There's an award you won.
Yeah, actually, yes. You reminded me, it was 2021 when that award happened.
2021, okay.
So during COVID,